Your dog trusted you completely once. And somewhere between then and now, something shifted. Not dramatically. Not with a single event you could point to and say, that was it, that was the moment. It happened the way most important things happen, slowly, quietly, in the accumulation of small moments you had no reason to think twice about. And the most difficult part is this. Your dog already knows. They've known for a while. This video is about learning to see what they've been showing you. Welcome to K9 Mind. Subscribe now. There's a lot more where this came from. Today we're covering the real reasons dogs lose trust in the people they love most. Not abuse. Not neglect. The subtle, everyday behaviors that most owners never recognize as trust-eroding because they look completely normal from the outside. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what your dog has been responding to, and more importantly, what you can still do about it. But first, you need to understand something about how dogs experience trust. Because without this, nothing else in this video will land the way it needs to. A dog doesn't think about trust the way you do. They don't evaluate it consciously, they don't weigh your intentions, they don't give credit for the times you meant well. Their nervous system simply records what happens, repeatedly, across hundreds of interactions, and builds a model of the world based on that record. That model tells them what to expect from you. Whether you are predictable. Whether you are safe. Whether the space around you is one they can relax in or one they need to stay alert in. When that model is solid, you see it in everything. The loose body when you reach for them. The easy eye contact. The dog who follows you from room to room not because they're anxious but because you're their favorite place to be. When that model begins to develop cracks, you see that too. You just have to know where to look. Here are the reasons it happens. Reason number 1. You've been unpredictable in your emotional tone. Dogs are extraordinarily sensitive to human emotional states. Not in a vague intuitive way, in a precise, physiological way. They read the tension in your posture, the quality of your breathing, the speed and weight of your movements. They have been studying you since the day they arrived and they are better at reading you than most people in your life are. What this means is that when your emotional state changes without warning, when the voice that was warm yesterday is sharp today, when the hands that were gentle last week move with impatience now, your dog registers that inconsistency not as a bad day but as information about you. Information that says the person I'm with is not fully predictable. And unpredictability, to a dog's nervous system, is indistinguishable from danger. You don't have to be angry at your dog for this to affect them. Stress you're carrying from work, tension from a conversation, the distracted energy of someone who is somewhere else in their head while physically present, all of it moves directly into the space your dog occupies. They absorb it. They adjust to it. And over time, if that adjustment means staying slightly more alert around you, slightly more watchful, slightly less relaxed, the trust has already begun to thin. Reason number 2. You've ignored what they were telling you. Dogs communicate constantly. Not loudly. Not with drama. In the quiet, physical language that most owners have never been taught to read. The yawn that appears when you reach for them too fast. The lip lick when a situation becomes too much. The whale eye, that half crescent of white at the edge of the iris, that appears when they need space they don't know how to ask for. The body that turns slightly away from a touch that isn't welcome right now. These are not random behaviors. They are a precise and honest vocabulary. And every time that vocabulary is ignored, every time your dog says I need a moment and you continue anyway, every time they signal discomfort and nothing changes, they learn something. They learn that communicating doesn't work. That their signals don't reach you. And a dog who believes their communication doesn't reach you is a dog who has been quietly, incrementally failed by the relationship. The progression matters. First they signal. Then they signal more. Then they stop signaling and go straight to the behavior that cannot be ignored. The growl. The snap. The avoidance that has become a permanent feature of how they move through the house. By that point, what owners see is a behavior problem. What actually happened was a communication breakdown that went unaddressed for a very long time. Reason number 3. You forced contact they didn't choose. This one is difficult to hear because it almost always comes from love. The hug they didn't lean into. The pickup they didn't ask for. The face pressed into theirs that they turned away from. The stroking that continued past the point where they stopped enjoying it, their body stiffening slightly, their head turning, their weight shifting backward in a direction that had a meaning you didn't read. Dogs do not experience unwanted contact the way you intend it. They experience it as a boundary not being heard. And the trust cost of that is significant, because it teaches them that their body's communication, the most honest and direct form they have, doesn't change what happens to them. They can signal all they want. The contact continues anyway. The dogs who tolerate this longest are often the ones described as the most patient, the most gentle, the most good-natured. What they've learned to do is suppress. They've learned that signaling discomfort doesn't work, and so they've stopped showing it. And a dog who has learned to suppress their own discomfort around you is a dog who has made a quiet, private calculation that expressing themselves to you isn't worth the attempt. Reason number 4. Your follow-through has not been consistent. Dogs build trust through pattern recognition. Not through grand gestures, not through exceptional moments, through the reliable repetition of ordinary ones. The walk that happens at the same time. The meal that arrives when it always arrives. The return after absence that confirms, again, that leaving and coming back are the same event. These repetitions are not routine to a dog. They are evidence. Evidence that the world is predictable. That you can be counted on. That safety is a thing that continues. When that reliability breaks, when the walk doesn't happen without explanation, when the routine shifts unpredictably, when promises made in the language of established patterns are suddenly not kept, the dog's internal model has to adjust. Not dramatically. Incrementally. A small revision to the file they've been building on you since the beginning. Done once, it means very little. Done across weeks, across months, quietly and without intention, it becomes the shape of the relationship. And the shape it produces is a dog who is never quite sure. Who holds a portion of themselves in reserve. Who has learned that certainty, with you, is something to be earned fresh every day rather than something that simply exists. Reason number 5. You've responded to fear with frustration. When a dog is afraid and the person they're bonded to responds with frustration, something breaks in the relationship that is genuinely difficult to repair. Because fear is not a choice. It is not stubbornness. It is not defiance. It is a physiological event happening in their nervous system that they have no ability to override through intention. Telling a frightened dog to stop being frightened is the equivalent of being told to stop being in pain. The response that damages trust most is punishment during fear. A raised voice when they flinch at something. Physical correction when they freeze or pull back. Any reaction that adds your unpredictability on top of the thing that already frightened them. In that moment, instead of becoming the thing that resolves the fear, you've become part of it. You've entered the fear experience as something that makes it worse. And the next time they're afraid, they will remember that. What a dog needs when they're frightened is a specific quality of calm from the person they trust most. Not forced reassurance, which can confirm that something is genuinely wrong. Not dismissal, which leaves them alone with it. Steady, present, unhurried calm that communicates through the body, through breathing, through the settled energy of someone who is not alarmed, that the world is manageable. That you are still what you have always been. That they can orient back to you and find safety there. Reason number 6. The repair never happened. Every relationship accumulates difficult moments. Moments where something was misread, where a response landed wrong, where the connection briefly broke. In human relationships, those moments get addressed, talked through, acknowledged. Trust repairs itself through the acknowledgement that something happened. Dogs cannot have that conversation with you. They cannot tell you that last week's moment in the car frightened them, that the interaction with the stranger was too much, that the day you came home tense and moved through the house quickly left something unsettled in them that hasn't fully resolved. They only have behavior. And if that behavior goes unread, the thing that needed repair stays open. This is where presence matters more than almost anything else. Not the presence of someone doing things to their dog, but the presence of someone who is paying close enough attention to notice when something has shifted. Who sees the slight withdrawal, the different quality of eye contact, the dog who was at your feet last week and is now across the room, and understands that this distance has a reason. You can repair trust with a dog. It is one of the remarkable things about the relationship. But it requires you to show up differently than you have been. Slower. Quieter. More patient. Letting them come to you rather than going to them. Honoring every small movement toward you with absolute stillness so they learn that coming close is safe again. Allowing the repair to happen at the pace their nervous system requires rather than the pace your guilt prefers. Here is what all of this comes back to. Your dog has not stopped loving you. Love and trust are not the same thing in any species, and dogs are no exception. They can carry a deep attachment to you while also being uncertain about the space between you. While also holding themselves slightly apart. While also giving you something that looks like closeness but has a careful quality to it, a quality you can feel if you know how to look.